Hello and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, today we're going to be actually looking at another media event, the interview of Harry and Meghan. That's actually been doing the round, especially on WhatsApp chatter. There's been a lot of controversy, a lot of discussion about it. And well, sides are ranged. Either you're on the side of the royals or you're on the side of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Even in India, the WhatsApp conversations, the social media, everybody is discussing as to what happened in the interview, why they said it, and of course, whose side are you on? So here to decode that interview, I have a panel. Suhail Seth, he is of course a marketing maven. He is a commentator, columnist, familiar face on television channels, and getting to be a familiar face on NewsX also. Suhail, good to have you back here. Vrinda Gopinath, she is a commentator, she's a columnist, and she's launched a podcast called Raw Story. Kaveri Bamzai, author, columnist, commentator, ex-editor India Today. Again, familiar face on our shows. Hi, Kaveri. And Mayank Shekhar, he's a columnist in Mumbai Mirror and also
Midday.
Hi. Well, you really have an inside view. I don't know if I'm letting out any secrets about your connection with Prince Charles also. So, how is the family taking the interview? Are you in touch with them? You know them pretty intimately, more than all of us, I would say. So, how do you see this interview would be being taken?
To be fair, I wish I was like Michael Fagan in the bedroom, knowing what they feel. But if you deconstruct the statement from the royal family, from Buckingham Palace, you will see two things. Number one, they're pretty distraught and they feel terribly let down. But there are two or three issues to that, and you have experts on this who are bigger experts at deconstructing what happens. There are two issues here. One is the serious issue of mental health, which Meghan has flagged off. That can't be, taken lightly, and Piers Morgan did it, and he got flack, rightly so. The second issue of racism, and you rightly mentioned about WhatsApp groups in India. Now, in India, it's a bit rich for people to, denounce racism when we call our brethren from the Northeast. I mean, I don't want to use the word, but it's a sullied word. Anyone below the Vindhyas is Madrasi. Anyone above is Punjab. I mean, we are pretty scurrilous when it comes to a racial slur. I think the interview, and this is the next one after the one that Diana gave 25 years ago, this has put the spotlight on the royal family and will force the royal family to introspect. Being as tight-lipped as they are, the stiff upper lip will come into play. You're not going to hear any thing publicly from them, like you didn't hear from Queen Elizabeth. Even when Princess Diana passed away, there was an uproar. Tony Blair had to, almost plead for the Queen to come back to England, come back to London, and actually see the outpouring of grief that was reflected in the bouquets that were placed outside Buckingham Palace. It was then that the Queen walked publicly and saw the outpouring of grief. This is not a family that is used to, a public display of emotions. But I think the media attention, the spotlight has come back on the royal family. And it's a very important time because, I don't know when the Queen will retire, abdicate, or whatever. But this is a terrible inflection point in the history of the royal family.
The reaction from the royals, in fact, Sohail mentioned also, the letter had a very interesting line. Our recollections may vary, short of saying that, you're a liar or this is not what happened. It's a very smart, subtle way of putting it. So how have you seen this play out, the interview?
You're asking me? Oh, no.
Kaveri.
Yeah. Priya, I wanted to say that this is not so much just Meghan who was performing and who was giving the interview. And notice in America, she is the biggest star. So she had more airtime than Harry. But it is also it was also about who interviewed her. Now, with Oprah interviewing Meghan and that of disapproval when Meghan talks about the color of Archie's skin, that sort of reverberated, I think, across the world. And at a time of Black Lives Matter, when you have to be so careful, and rightly so, about how you approach race, I think that set the tone for what was going to be a devastating interview. And I think we must look at Meghan in the context of Oprah as well. Remember, Oprah is a star maker. And I wouldn't put it past her in sort of supporting Meghan's political career at some point. I know it sounds far-fetched, but so did Donald Trump's. And I think that is very important. That the fact that Oprah sort of steered the discussion towards racism is very important. And I think that is what really has put the royal family on the mat. And I think in a way, it is also the clash of civilizations. It's the new age California, touchy-feely, in touch with my emotions, and all about sort of, getting in touch with who I am. And versus a very British, stiff upper lip, still very, very constructed, what they call the institution, which almost makes it sound like a mental institution. And Harry had said quite often during the interview that both his father and his brother feel trapped. Now, these are not things that the royals like to let out. The Crown may say all this, but the Crown is still in the realm of fiction. And they can always, pretend not to have watched it. Even Harry and Meghan didn't quite say that they watch it, So, but the fact is that the kind of damage that season 4 of Crown as well did to them almost rivaled what happened with Princess Diana when she died and when she gave that famous interview to Martin Bashir. And remember, this is the 60th anniversary of Princess Diana's birth. Next year will be the 25th anniversary of her death. We're going to see a lot of Diana in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And Meghan is not going away. She is going to make full use of this. Meghan and Harry, as we all know, have signed deals with Netflix and Spotify. They're going to milk the mother's legacy, the mother-in-law's legacy to the hilt. And it will really be the California royals versus the Windsor royals, the house of Meghan, if you will, versus the house of
The House of Markle versus the House of Windsor.
And I think the House of Markle versus the House of Windsor. And poor William, who's the House of Sussex, House of Cambridge, House of Cambridge somewhere sort of lost in between, who really is possibly the future king, and maybe not Charles. We don't know. Maybe Suhail does. So I think it's really the three houses which are really going to be in conflict. And, you've seen a lot of this in popular culture. I don't know if you watch something called The Windsors, which is a Channel 4 parody of the House of Windsors. It's hilarious. And it really does presage all this that's happening. You have a moment in, sorry to take so much airtime, but you have a moment in The Windsors where Meghan actually announces a division of the Fab Four, as they're called, which is Harry, Meghan, William, and Kate, and a division between the House of Sussex and the House of Cambridge. So you saw all this coming, and I'm actually not surprised. And the British press is so feral, and so it was so obviously anti-Meghan that it was just something that was waiting to happen, I think.
So, Vrinda, in this House of Markle versus House of Windsor, where do you stand?
It's like Beverly Hills versus, Buckingham Palace. But
I was going to say celebrity versus loyalty, but I think House of Markle versus House of Windsor is the better one.
Is that I think more importantly, this whole thing plays out like some Windsor Carp panchayat kind of thing, because the way it's like, all this betrayal and passion and love and, state and nation. That's what, the British press has been going on about, that, how dare they kind of, let down the Queen and the state and, the empire. But I think what really kind of got, whatever little I saw of the interview was how Harry talked about the tabloidization of the palace, like how much they depend. Actually, the palace survives. The Windsor survive on the British tabloid press. That's what keeps them going. But they're so loyal to them that anybody who's seen as a kind of a usurper, intruder, or is blacklisted. And so the British tabloid, he's blamed them, and he said that, I think to quote him, he says that everyone in the family is scared of the British tabloid press, that it amounts to control by fear. These were like amazing things that he said. And that there's an invisible contract where the monarchy depends for its survival. these were like, I think, really important, significant things that he said, which means that if you displease the tabloids and if you're not if you're not a darling of the tabloid, you only have to quit and leave. So I think that's That's what this interview showed me.
And there is the, Diana very much in the background. She's in the foreground also with all these anniversaries coming up. But definitely, we saw that happen earlier. We're seeing it happen again.
Yeah, this is Diana on steroids. I mean, this interview was, yeah. I mean, this interview of Meghan Markle was like Diana on steroids, because she kind of came full on about, though it was a bit, she's clever because, she kind of brings in the color of Archie's skin, and then kind of says, oh, but he was not given security and he's not given a title. But that's not true, really, because if whatever little I've been reading is that the title is not given to great grandchildren and all of that stuff.
Line. Yeah.
So so she's been clever there, disingenuous there by kind of bringing these kind of things in. Yeah, slipping it in.
And your first take on the interview, and what were the highlights apart from the racial? Or was it a clever ploy to bring up the other issues that they really wanted to bring up?
Well, I think the other issue they brought up really became that's really what this interview was a metaphor for, right? I mean, the fact that through this there is a society that's discussing racism. Through this, there's a society that's discussing paparazzi culture. But by itself, the interview itself and the people involved, I mean, I just kept thinking how much imperial hangover that still exists, right? I mean, who are these people? What do they do for a living? I'm not even too sure what Prince Harry does for a living, outside, of course, living off taxpayers' money, and right now living off his mother's savings, right? I mean, Diana, he said that. He can't even get a real job for himself, which is kind of tragic by itself. But I think this imperial hangover also exists because, I mean, if you think about it, what was it? It was just 75 years ago that the Queen, that the empire existed in its full glory. 75 years is literally like one person's lifetime. One person lives for 75 years. So it's not really been that long. I think it will take at least a couple of generations for this royal family to reach the irrelevance that it deserves. And it might happen after the Queen, because I get a sense that the Queen is very much loved even now. Even between these two people, I mean, they may make statements about the press and the establishment or the institution or the firm, but they will never say anything against the Queen. So clearly that's also reflecting what people think. But once the Queen is no more, I mean, if you think about what kind of press or what kind of love that, say, Prince Charles would have, or perhaps even William, I mean, you can see that this is going southward in a real sense anyway. They kept saying Commonwealth responsibilities. I'm not too sure what Commonwealth responsibilities do they have. I mean, I know they're figureheads of, say, Canada or Australia, right? But in a real sense, what do they do? These are all sovereign nations. What does the Queen or the family have to do with Commonwealth countries? So, I mean, outside of what seemed like a completely irrelevant institution for people outside of Britain, I think it just became what it was also the case for Diana, that, we began to talk about certain issues that we don't otherwise. So I think mental health was a big one in Diana's case. I think adultery was a big one in Diana's case. And here, I think racism is a really big one. The fact that she's accused the institution of being racist in terms of what the child would look like. I agree with Suhail. It's rather rich of Indians to be making commentary on racism in the Buckingham Palace, given how we live and how we sort of navigate that space in this country.
And how will they, we've already heard, like Mayank say, what will they do? They've already talked about deals with Spotify. I think Harry is talking about even Barack Obama joining in some concerts that he's trying to raise. Netflix, of course, they're making children's films. Basically, they're cashing in on the money. It's on their name, and it's just brand endorsement, right?
Well, ultimately, it's all about the money. I mean, Princess Diana, after she separated from Charles, she had an affair briefly with a Pakistani doctor who she actually always said she was truly in love with, but, he couldn't handle that. And then she went in for the Harrods owner. So, she didn't exactly go to Sainsbury Local's manager and have an affair. I'm not judging that by all means. So please don't take it amiss. The point I'm making is it's always about the money in America. Mike made a point where he said, are the royals, I mean, they will fade into irrelevance. I have only one thing, Mayank, to say. I've seen how people, and I'm talking about very serious people who are involved at the helm of global companies, they somehow feel that they've got everything except this royal tag. No wonder that in England, even to this day, you can buy a lordship. I mean, no pun intended. So the royals, especially in America, have that. I mean, we still remember the visual of Prince Charles standing there And in the White House, John Travolta waltzing or
Diana.
dancing with Princess Diana. Those visuals are there for all of us to remember. Having said that, I think Meghan and Harry have decided that there's no going back. I mean, again, no pun intended, to England, either as members of the royal family or as people who actually believe in English culture. And they're now setting themselves up for a role in America, and they'll be the only royals who will make America their home. The last abdication happened in a beautiful home in Paris, after which after which Queen Elizabeth's father took over. So my point is, I don't think it'll be irrelevant. And one last quick point, if you look at the figures, and this I'm not joking, if you look at the figures which are given out by the BTA, the British Tourist Authority, they will tell you that when it's trooping the color, when it is the Queen's birthdays, and she's the only lucky one to celebrate her birthday twice a year, whether it's any of all these events, there is a surge in tourism. So they are a tourist attraction, whether we like it or not. I mean, Mayank, you and Kavri would be better experts on this. I'm sure the Crown had a great viewership, and not just from the Commonwealth, but from people across the world. So I don't think they're going to fade into oblivion in a hurry. Yes, the thing that we need to be not worried about, is that they're going to be made more accountable. The last time they were accountable was when the Queen had to declare her income, when the government would lay out the figures that would be paid to them. So I think it's happening, but they're not going to go away in a hurry.
So was it a smart career move for Meghan to come back with all this? There's a whole lot more interest in her now. She's also, back to her acting career. How will America receive them?
Everyone talks about the ghost of Diana, but you have to be careful of the ghost of Wallis Simpson as well. And I think Suhail referred to it briefly when he talked about how Prince Edward and Wallis Simpson made the continent their home. Remember, they were terribly disliked, and they were literally persona non grata in Britain. Also, of course, because they happened to have fascists as friends, and they also happened to meet Adolf Hitler at a very important point in history when they ought not to have. But they were always seen as sort of Nazi sympathizers. But I think the kind of hatred and the kind of dislike, and it's almost virulent, that the Brits and the royals have towards Wallis Simpson is something that Meghan might well encounter now. Already, you have those tabloids which called her Monster Meghan and talked about drought in the world because she was eating avocados and because and the strange way in which she held her baby bump. There were ridiculous stories, but also really hurtful. And I think that is what is interesting. Will she become like a Wallis Simpson, sort of a much hated and derided figure? Or will she come back and become Meghan Markle, the star? Remember, even in Suits, which really made her famous, she was not the actual star. I mean, the actual star was, these two guys. But she had developed quite a following. So she was never an A-lister. But royalty has, of course, given her that A-list tag. And remember also the kind of makeover that Harry himself has undergone. There was a time when, if you remember, he was quite, where he wasn't derided, but he was sort of treated as the duffer, the ginger joke, as he calls himself in one, as a fictional Harry calls himself. And he was a bit of an idiot, regarded as a bit of an idiot. So the kind of makeover that he underwent because of the Invictus Games was also interesting. Will Meghan and Harry be able to do that kind of makeover? And I also want to make a point here about Andrew. Andrew is one of the worst human beings in the history of the royals. He has been associated with all kinds of people, including of late Jeffrey Epstein, who had a thing for underage women, underage girls. And he's been accused of all sorts of things, but he's got away with it. It's because of that sort of, lack of accountability that Suhail talked about. And I think increasingly, if Meghan continues to speak up and if Harry continues to speak up, this kind of, kid glove treatment that you have for certain royals, and other royals are treated with a lot more, are sort of, judged a lot more. I think that will change. Charles himself went from being a heartthrob to a sort of a duffer, the older man who was with Diana, and that's what he resented from all accounts. So things also change and makeovers happen, sometimes organically, sometimes through actual brand building. So I think it'll be interesting to see where Meghan and Harry go as a celebrity couple. They're the new Kanye and Kim, I suppose, now that Kanye and Kim are getting divorced.
Vrinda, have we got anything more apart from another episode? Crown's ratings going up. Apart from that,
No, but the thing here is that what it clearly did was to kind of carry on that interview of Diana when she talks about mental health. She talks about about the way the palace shut its doors. It seems like, if Harry's concerned, it could almost seem like a revenge serial. And I don't think they're going to milk this any longer, because then it's going to lose its marketing, whatever sheen or whatever they aim to get it. And I think what they did is, like, I'm not into this side of like, oh my God, what a betrayal. I think it's fine that they came out. They had to tell their side of the story. They did it absolutely rightly, going to Oprah and nobody else. So the whole thing has, I think, worked for them as a marketing, it's marketing heaven where they're concerned, and a marketing hell where Buckingham Palace is concerned. But the thing is, I keep saying that it's the media that keeps the royal family going. And like Sohail pointed out, people, the British tourism, they are a tourist attraction when people standing in front. Even Meghan herself, when she was a teenager or a preteen, had herself photographed outside the gates of Buckingham Palace. So I don't think the palace is, the Windsors are going to kind of go away very
Just
soon.
like Modi photographed himself outside the White House.
Yeah. So, the thing is that, so in that sense, I think it's worked well for these guys, and they'd be stupid if they kind of, push this even further. They made their point. They've said what they had to say, and I think they should just now kind of, back off a bit. And who knows? I don't know. Are they going to keep their titles? The Sussex.
No, the titles are removed.
They've been removed.
Oh, they're no longer.
No, they can't.
They're
were
no
removed
longer
off
Duke
with
and
the
Duchess.
Duchess. No.
Oh, okay. So then, then carry on. Welcome, that's the way they're going to be. And I think
America and welcome reality TV.
yeah.
So, Mank, in the end, Vrinda says that she's not too surprised. If Meghan had to go and say it's a great betrayal, fine. She wanted to go and say her piece. But why was this great betrayal breaking news? We all knew. We all knew what happened with Diana. We all knew this is what the royals are like. Why didn't she? I
kind of agree with everyone. The point I was trying to make, Priya, about irrelevance.
So why we're having this discussion and why we are so
No. The irrelevance of royalty is what I meant was what do you do for a living in that respect. And right now, these two are commoners. They have to make a living. I'm told that there is no transaction that took place for this particular interview between Oprah and the two guests. But the fact is, nobody ever watched it for Oprah, right? The whole world watched this interview for these two, and they have the Spotify deal, they have the Netflix deal, so they're commoners in a real sense now. And looking ahead, that's what this institution is going to be. They'll have to go make a living because maybe the taxpayer may not even subsidize them 5 generations down the line. They might become the royalty of India, right? The royalty that exists in multiple princely states of India. Technically, they're also Maharajas in their own way. We don't have a tabloid culture to propelling that aspect of Indian life, and there could be, there isn't. So effectively, what does it come down to? It comes down to the fact that, say, for instance, Harry has an issue with the fact that he doesn't get security, right? While he's still technically part of the royal family. But, it's a real job, and he's quit that job. And he's saying, okay, so why don't I get treated like the other royalty, not the top one, but the lower rung, because they get a lot of privileges too. But you can't quit your job as, say, maybe the deputy managing director of a company and say, give me like at least the privileges of the mid-level executive. You've quit the job, you quit the
box of
job.
office, yeah.
So I couldn't quite understand from that perspective, what is he crying over? Is quit. Right now, I think it makes complete sense for these two who are regular citizens trying to make an honest living, make a reality star out of yourselves. Yeah, I think they are the Kim K of from Britain in America, and more power to them. I hope Prince Harry can live beyond the savings of Diana. He should be able to do some good shows.
Beyond being a plus one, which is what he's become. So I'll give you the final word. Yeah.
And who knows, we might see a resurgence of Archie comics.
Yeah.
So there's no end to which you can stretch the brand. But as Mayank said, and I think it's best to end at that, we haven't seen the last of the war between the firm, which is what the family is known as, and between the Markles, which includes Harry. It's only going to get vicious and perhaps will peak when Diana's anniversary happens next year.
I'll let you go, Suhail. One quick question. How will they be received in America by the institution? Trump had no time for them. Will the current lot, Obama's giving them some time, but...
Yeah, but Obama doesn't matter. I mean, Obama's giving them time because Obama has something in common with Meghan Markle. I mean, he's very concerned about issues like racial discrimination, all of that. But the others don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter. Joe Biden has 100 things to worry about, including getting the House to pass a $1.3 trillion bill. So,
no, but Suhail, they'll be embraced by Hollywood for sure.
Yeah, showbiz cares. Showbiz will care.
Showbiz will care, and the low-level tabloids in America will care, and they'll be invited to a lot of Beverly Hills parties, but that's where it'll end.
Yeah, they'll be on the cover of People magazine, not Time magazine.
Not Time magazine.
And maybe a conclave in India, who knows?
Might be in film fair, but not.
Good idea.
I knew Kaveri was going to go into that. But on that note, we're totally out of time. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as I think we all did.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.